When Senator Dave Argall was growing up in half a double on Arlington Street in the east end of Tamaqua, he never could have imagined the changes that were coming for his hometown. Many of the borough's oldest buildings are now much improved, including the 1865 Conrad Bischoff Planing Mill and Furniture Factory, which is now Tamaqua's first boutique hotel, the Bischoff Inn. Lehigh Carbon Community College's Morgan Center at the former junior high school where his parents once taught. And the crown jewel of local revitalization efforts, the fully restored 1874 Tamaqua train station, which now houses a thriving restaurant and passenger train rides from the Reading and Northern Railroad. Tamaqua's transformation would not have been possible without the CRIZ, which stands for Community Revitalization and Improvement Zone. Tamaqua is the only borough in Pennsylvania with this designation, which allows the community to utilize state tax payments for economic development. This month's edition of the Argall Report looks at many of the projects that became possible thanks to the CRIZ program and the hard work by members of the Tamaqua community. Let's take a look.
So welcome to Tamaqua. Again, I'm Mike Gursky. I'm the director of the Tamaqua Area Community Partnership. Secretary, thank you for coming back and visiting us again. Deputy Secretary and all of your staff, welcome to Tamaqua's CRIZ. And Senator Argall, thank you for being here and being such an advocate for us. And I know that Lauren is here from Representative Barton's office. Thank you for your support as well. So we're starting the tour at the Tamaqua train station, and it's very appropriate. Our CRIZ application 10 years ago was based on the overlap of all of our community plans, including our National Register Historic District, our Main Street District, our Downtown Upper Floor Revitalization Plan, our Tamaqua Safety Initiative Corridor, our Elm Street Plan, which is like a sister program to our Main Street Plan. And what we did was we looked at how can we use the CRIZ, the pilot opportunity that we would have, to advance the projects that are in those community plans. Some of those community plans are 30 years old, and we still have things on our to-do list from those. And then we've added to them. I did give Christine some information with some of those plans, but we're starting at the Tamaqua train station because when we talk about our downtown, and when we talk about our historic district and our Main Street district, and when we talk about our comprehensive community development plan, the train station is literally and figuratively at the center of those plans. It is a 1874 passenger station. We're celebrating our 150th anniversary. We are a visitor center for the Schuylkill River Greenway Association, the Schuylkill River National Heritage Area, and a local visitor center. It is owned and it was restored by nonprofit charities and volunteer organizations. It is an active rail line, so for those of you who are familiar with the Reading, Blue Mountain, and Northern,
you planned this, didn't you?
This happens every day. So if you go back 30 years to our community plan, part of our historic preservation and tourism plan was to restore this train station, to make it a visitor center and make it a hub for community development in Tamaqua. And we did that 20 years ago in 2004. We cut the ribbon and restored it. It's still owned by a nonprofit charity. We lease space to a restaurant that has a fine dining restaurant with outdoor dining when the weather is nice. Our Chamber of Commerce every Thursday during the summertime has a free outdoor concert here where people will just walk from the neighborhood, from the downtown, set up their lawn chairs and just listen to a free concert. If you look in the box over here, that we don't have regular passenger service, but we do have regular tourism excursions that leave here every Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. You get on the train here at the Tamaqua train station. It will take you into Jim Thorpe for the day, and it brings you back here and drops you off at 5 p.m. So we're a dispatching point for that tourism excursion. The train station, as I mentioned, was restored by a local nonprofit organization. It had fallen into disrepair. The community put together some funding with the help of then State Representative Argall back in 1992, acquired the building, and then started to patch together the roof, and then finished the final restoration in 2004. A couple of years ago, that patched together roof that we put on 25 years ago, started to leak. And so we were having water infiltration, and we had some rotted wood. These are replaced now. We had some water come in the inside. We can't let the #1 landmark in our community fall apart. We went to the CRIZ Authority and we asked if we could apply for funding to be able to restore the roof. Just to put some costs in perspective, back in 2004, the total project cost for restoring the entire station was $1.5 million. Just the roof, it was a publicly bid prevailing wage project. Just the roof was a $700,000 project. So, but it's going to be preserved for the next generation. The technology is better. It's one roof completely restored instead of patched. So we're really excited to be able to use the CRIZ funding to keep this restaurant open, to keep the visitor center open, to keep those trains rolling, and to make sure that this continues to play the central role in our Main Street revitalization and our historic preservation and tourism efforts.
For our visitors, understand that, I mean, this building had been pretty much abandoned for decades, and so it was a symbol of blight, and now it's a symbol of community pride. I mean, it's probably one of the busiest spots in town.
So when this became available, we were renting on the second floor. So we have our headquarters, which is CARES upstairs. And CARES is an agency that serves individuals with intellectual disabilities. We do day programs where they go out in the community and volunteer in the community, like deliver Meals on Wheels, pick up litter, clean parks. So we literally give tens of thousands of volunteer hours in our communities wherever we have a day program. And we are located in 16 counties now, I believe, throughout Pennsylvania. So we have two sister agencies, one in Pittsburgh and one in State College. But this was our headquarters. And we presently employ out of this building in our region here in the Schuylkill, Carbon, Lehigh, Allentown area, around 100 people at this point. And we have another 50 contractors, so it is doing good for the community. And then once we acquired this, we had a bunch of seniors calling us and telling us that the YMCA closed in Tamaqua and they didn't have a place that accepted silver sneakers. So they were looking for a place. They would have to drive to Pottsville or Hazleton. So we opened up a gym for the seniors in our community, and that they're mostly who use it, but we're trying to attract younger people too. And so we have a big gym where they play basketball and racquetball and
Biggest favorite.
Don't forget pickleball.
Yes. And we do dance classes and stuff, but the seniors really utilize this workspace a lot. And they're here, in fact, I think they're in classes now back there. Or it just ended. It ended.
And how many clients, adults with disabilities, do you serve?
We serve around 140 some individuals with disabilities, and we also do foster care. It's like foster care for adults with intellectual disabilities. It's an alternative to group homes. And for those who aren't really familiar, group homes cost about 3 times more. So we save taxpayers a lot of money by doing life sharing because it's 1/3 the cost. And it's much more beneficial because they're living with a family and they're connecting with the community and they're not isolated in a group home with other people with disabilities. So we really love that program and very passionate about it. We've been doing this I'm in the business almost 30 years, but Lori and I opened 12 years ago. CARES, our own agency, and so we're thrilled to be in Tamaqua and based out of Tamaqua.
In this building, we have 3 Head Start programs, 3 Head Start classrooms, so that's families that meet the income eligibility guidelines for 100% of the federal poverty guidelines. And then we had a lot of families that wanted the program, but they were over the guidelines. And so we have 2 pre-K counts classrooms, which is state funded. And that allows families 101 to 300% of the federal poverty guidelines to have their child enrolled in our program. So this is one of 8 locations that we operate throughout the county. Just really super grateful. A few years ago, it's 5 years that we're in this building. And prior to that, we were asked to leave the current location that we were at, which was St. Peter and Paul on Pine Street. And we searched many locations trying to find a place. And so it was really the stars aligned that St. Jerome's was going to move up to Rush Elementary. And this was for sale. And then we were able to purchase it and then get some loans for renovations. Which was wonderful, and then the CRIZ funding has been absolutely phenomenal for us. I know it's a different way to use the CRIZ funding, but the investment in early childhood and the benefits it is for families that are working and the family engagement that we do, we know all the studies are saying, the earlier the better. So we're having lunch right now. So, so this is Miss Jill's room, and she's supported by the two Emilys.
Really nice to meet so that they're friends.
Now, how old is this age group?
We are ages 3 to 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, same as downstairs. Okay.
Can you say good morning? Kara, can you say buenos dias? Buenos dias.
Wow.
Can we tell them about our book that we're reading? What book are we reading? Can you tell them what we were just talking about? What did he do? He knocked him over, and how did it make him feel? He was mad. That is it, right, Levi? And whenever the little girl knocked his Legos down, what did he say? What did he say when she knocked his Legos down?
Stop.
He was saying, "Stop! I don't like that. You're making me feel so angry." And how was he feeling?
Mad.
He was mad. He was so mad.
I
He
like
was.
Legos.
You love Legos
Yeah.
too.
My wife used to accuse me of buying the Legos, pretending that they were for my son and daughter when really they were for me.
You know, I think I might have too.
Notice
do.
when they moved away, the Legos stayed in my house. So
Hey,
there is evidence.
We
yeah.
are great Lego builders here.
Really, I don't know what we would have done if we didn't have the resources to be able to do this.
Their biggest challenge now
90 children
is
without
workforce,
funding.
Pat. Again,
Yeah.
no surprise to you. You know, how do they find them? How do they keep them? And so,
Yeah, it's a challenge around the
yeah,
country.
yeah.
Well, here's what I want to say. You know, like, we're not just about the children, we're about the families, but we're about our team members. And Heidi in there, she came as a parent, got her child development associate credential, went back and got her associate's degree. You know, from parent to teacher, you know, that's what we do here too. So that really, you know, I'm here 38 years. So it's great to see children even coming back and working for us and making a difference. So thank you so much.
Sure.
Yeah, I did kind of give the other group a little bit of an intro, but this is 320 Lafayette Street. It's called Bischoff Inn. It's the former home of the Bischoff Furniture Factory. The Bischoffs were immigrants from Germany who came to Tamaqua in the mid-1850s, I believe. Ran a business here until the 1930s.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
Around
ran a
there
business
somewhere.
here till 1930. The factory closed, the building sat idle. We have had several tenants here who took good care of this historic property over the years, so that when we did the boutique hotel project, it wasn't like this building was a total disaster. There had been some care and love given to this building over the years. And so we've developed it into a 5-room boutique hotel. We have 4 rooms on the main floor. We have a suite on the second floor as well as an innkeeper's suite. And this is Maria Stabio, the owner of Bischoff Inn.
Yes. Hi.
And I have told her, Pat, that I want her to be so successful that she starts taking over more.
Yeah, sure, why not? Hi, Pat Brown.
That's Secretary of Revenue Brown.
Great stuff.
Actually, this is the Wilhelmina room?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
right,
if you
yeah.
actually do, for those of you who just came, if you go into Wilhelmina room, you'll see some actual Bischoff furniture. We have a
Yes.
friend whose family was part of the Bischoff family. They were in the furniture business, and back in the 1800s, when you were in the furniture business, you were also in the mortuary business. So,
What's the connection there?
Caskets?
casket making.
Caskets, yeah.
Because you're making furniture, making caskets.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
right.
yeah.
And the
So-
family is still.
And
Yeah.
the Zitzelman family,
Yeah.
which is the Bischoff family today, is still in the
Funeral
In the
business.
funeral business,
Okay.
yes. So again, some of the furniture in the inn is actually original Bischoff furniture that was built here.
Yeah, that's correct,
Especially
yeah.
well, in
In here, in the Wilhelmina room, And also upstairs
In the
junior
suite.
Yeah. So we have 3 pieces of original Bishop-made furniture.
This building goes from the front of from Broad Street all the way to the end of the block. We are going to peek our head in so you can get an idea of the scope. We have Joe Bennett, who we're working with as a developer, who also helped us with the development of our downtown grocery store. So we'll talk about that later. We do have fantastic plans for this. I mentioned up at that other corner that part of our plan is to change Tamaqua into a place where education is a priority, where we invest in education, and education is part of our economic development and community development tools. So our plans for this is to renovate this into 4 stories of dormitory units for what we hope is the first rural dental college in Pennsylvania, and I think only the second one in the United States. So what we want to do is we want to establish a dental college in downtown Tamaqua. We'll talk more about that when we go around the corner, but our hope is that they will live here. And Joe, I actually have some plans in my truck, but if you want to take them inside and just kind of talk through what we're doing here.
So what we ended up doing was stripping it all out. It took 9 months to get this prepared like it is now. The benefits of this property is there's a large parking lot in the back, and of course parking is so critical to residential. This is an original elevator that's in there. It actually still works, although I wouldn't want to get on it unless all of you here. But then we put a temporary bathroom right there because there had been an event here to raise funds for the
Art Center.
Art Center. Thank you. So that's what's done. But you can see the old mezzanines. There's one up front here. And then those windows will come out, bring some natural light, and so perhaps there'll be a coffee shop in here, but a place where people can come down and congregate. And
How many
so it'll
apartments?
be great for students.
So we're looking at 20 beds, probably about 17 units, and a small commercial space. So there'll be parking in the rear for the residential units, and it's a 4-floor building with the same footprint. They don't all have, the ceilings aren't all this high. The ground floor has the highest ceilings.
This be a common space?
There'll be a common space and a coffee shop. Yep, there'll be an entrance from the front of the building and from the rear of the building for the residents, and then there'll be a commercial entrance as well. So we do have, if anybody's interested in the plans, I could show you maybe over lunch or something, but I could show you what it's going to look like. Matt Forte asked me, in terms of, do we develop the dorms and then try to recruit the dental college, or do we establish a dental college and then do the dorms? And frankly, when you do a development like this, they have to happen at the same time. We have to develop the living space for the students while at the same time we develop the teaching space for the dental college. So you can't do one and then hope for the other. You have to do both at the same time. So.
Where would the college be?
I'm glad you asked. We're going to go. It's going to be somewhere. It's going to be somewhere in downtown Tamaqua for sure. We have a couple of locations, and one of them I'm going to point out as we continue the tour. Does anybody have any questions for Joe about this project? From a CRIZ perspective, very hard to redevelop residential units. There's no very little corporate net income tax, if anything. There's no payroll tax. There's no sales tax. There's no bank shares tax. There's no local EIT tax. So all of the CRIZ taxes that help finance a project with a residential development, there really is no increment there because there's no taxes on those sort of taxes don't really add up. If there was a bar here or a restaurant or a retail, something that had a lot of sales tax,
A liquor store or a steak store?
right?
Yeah.
A beer store?
And we tried that, but PLCB was not interested. Apparently they really like to bring big trucks like up to the front door or the back door, and that's just not possible here.
Several times a day in Tamaqua, too.
No, I love this. I love this.
What's that? Yeah, so back in, as we've been doing our community plans, in 2008, our community development volunteers did an upper store plan. I mentioned the 2 blocks on either direction of the main intersection, looking at what space is available, what the uses are on the 2nd and 3rd floor, and in this case, 4th floor of these downtown buildings. Because we had some moderate success with the Main Street program, filling up some of the 1st floor spaces so that we can renovate the building and put in upper floor residential units. And so this is something that I mentioned 2008. Then we did a follow-up study in 2011. So these things have a long life. but these buildings aren't going anywhere. The logic models are sound from those plans that we developed years ago, and we still have buildings that fit that we've identified as a need, and this is one of them. It's taken a lot longer than we wanted it to, but you know, the CRIZ program is helping other things happen around it and can help with these tough buildings.
And what did they tell us about downtown revitalization? Eds and meds? Right. This is both.
Because you have the train station, and then you have the M&S hardware store, which is one of the largest contributors to our CRIZ. They sell a lot of hardware. There's an antique shop, there's our public library, and then we have a St. Luke's rural health clinic. If you're not familiar with rural health clinics, these are primary care offices that are specifically designed to take care of people with medical assistance, Medicare, or no insurance. So you have to be in a medically underserved area, and you have to agree to take patients regardless of their ability to pay. And so this is also the home of, it's a teaching clinic for the first rural family medicine residency program in Pennsylvania. So I mentioned that part of our strategy is to become an educational community. So we started Pennsylvania's first rural family medicine residency. So these are doctors who graduated from medical school, who specifically applied to a family medicine program, but also specifically in a rural community. So we are training at any point in time. We have 12 residents that are training in this family practice here. We also have a one-room dental clinic in this building, which is woefully too small to take care of the medical assistance, adult MA medical assistance need in not just this community, but the region. So as we identify possible locations for a dental school, we want it to be in the CRIZ, we want it to be downtown. This is one of the locations, is we may be able to partner with the public library, which has been interested in expanding and renovating, actually ideally demolishing and building a new library that would be much more contemporary. This library is about circa 1973. I'm circa 1973 too, and I can tell you that that's not the state of the art. So there is a potential, particularly with the dormitory living that in the building that Joe talked about, where they could live, students could live there, park behind their dormitory, and literally walk across a parking lot and then practice here. So this is one of the possible locations for a dental school. Our nonprofit charity, a lot of times what we end up doing, just like we did with that property on West Broad Street, is identifying properties that are in our historic district, in our Main Street district, might be a priority for our upper floor program, and those that have been severely neglected by property owners, we try to intervene. This is one of those properties. A little over a year ago, our nonprofit charity purchased this building, and when we did, it was filled floor to ceiling with garbage. Debris, wooden desks. We pulled out 4,000 waste tires. We pulled out 6,000 gallons of waste oil, all sorts of car parts. There was about 3 dozen acetylene tanks in here. Dave, you couldn't hire a Boy Scout to build a better fire, because if this thing ever went up in smoke, it would kill everybody in the high-rise and Majestic House. A real blighted and dangerous property. We don't have an ultimate use for this building. It does have gaping holes in its roof, like 25-foot holes in its roof. It used to be an automobile dealership, and then in my memory, it's always been just George Geisinger's garage filled with junk. So our nonprofit charity now owns it, and we're looking for ways. We're looking for a Maria or a Joe, a developer. I mentioned this to some of you. The CRIZ program doesn't create a market. It doesn't create customers. It's a very creative way to finance something, very powerful way to finance something, but you have to have a business model. So we're looking at options for here. So Matt, you might see an application for this project. So even 10 years ago, when we were applying for the CRIZ program, there were a lot of communities that were facing issues with losing their grocery store, their downtown grocery store, their neighborhood grocery store. Tamaqua has always been fortunate that we've had a family-owned grocery store here, but we put it in our plan to expand our downtown grocery store so that they could stay here. It is a hyper-competitive market. There's a Walmart just a few miles up the road. There's a Walmart a few miles down the other road. It's a very pedestrian community, and we wanted to be able to leverage the CRIZ program to be able to help make sure that Boyer's Supermarket can not only stay here, but can expand and thrive. So if you look in our original CRIZ plan, we went to expand a downtown grocery store. We didn't name Boyer's by name, but we only have one downtown grocery store. So you could probably have figured out who that was. So we talked to John Boyer from the Boyer family, and we asked him about trying to help him expand his business and use CRIZ funds to help make it happen. We asked Joe to help put the deal together because John Boyer's a grocer. He's not a real estate developer. And so it really took a unique partnership with Joe and John and the family and the state and some other things to be able to make this happen.
So I had been speaking with Dave and with Christine about trying to relocate the state store because it was moving out of where it was, and realized that that would be a terrible loss to Tamaqua if they moved up to hometown or somewhere else. So Micah said to me, and Dave and Christine, why don't you and John Boyer start talking to one another? We did. He wanted to expand, so this building is out about 40 feet from where it was. And so when you go in, you'll see the beams, that's where the store stopped. So we expanded the size of the store, as well as then we added on that. You were able to drive completely around the back of the building, so we added over towards the creek and put in the state store in the front, the beer store in the back. So now you have one-stop shopping for all of those items, and so it makes it very convenient for the local folks to come in. We immediately found that the beer store doubled and tripled their sales. Boyer's, this is now the #1 Boyer's, and they have a chain of 11 stores. This is the #1 store in their chain. Their business has nearly doubled. But when you go in, it's a nice appearance. It looks like some of the stores in other areas that you see where they've invested a lot in new cases. And so you'll see how successful it is. And then we needed to have a fire door between the two entities, but you feel like you're just able to walk back and forth quite easily after you pick up a shopping cart. And so this has been quite successful for us, and we're very happy to have been able to work with the CRIZ and with the folks in the community to establish this business.
And relocating the liquor store from its other location, which was in a shopping plaza, which is now it's completely a medical plaza. There was vacant storefronts there. The liquor store was there by itself. It was actually identified in our Tamaqua Safety Initiative as part of our high crime zone. And so moving it out of that location, same function, same liquor store, same whiskey, moving it from there to here where it's next to a grocery store reduces that sort of seediness of that use in that location. So here you're going grocery shopping, you're picking up a bottle of wine on your way home, as opposed to an isolated liquor store. So when I talk about the overlap of our community plans, the liquor store here is much better and is purposely moved from our Tamaqua Safety Initiative zone to cohabitate with a supermarket.
And the bonus is that I'd have constituents, and Pat, I'm sure you heard these complaints a million times, that had moved in from another state, and they'd be in my office and say, no, wait a minute, I'm having a party, but I have to go here for this, and here for this, and here for this. You don't have to do that in Tamaqua anymore. What did you call it? One-stop shopping?
One-stop shopping.
And so it just makes sense.
Thank you for watching this month's edition of the Argall Report. Breathing new life into local towns, large and small, is the most important part of Senator Argall's job for the people of Carbon, Luzerne, and Schuylkill counties. Bipartisan legislation passed by the Senate and House and signed into law by the governor with Senator Argall's strong support has now opened up the opportunity for new communities to apply for the coveted CRIZ designation, so we can bring the same positive changes we've seen in Tamaqua to other towns in need of help. As always, if you have any questions about what you have just seen, feel free to contact any of Senator Argall's local offices. That information will be on your screen in just a bit. Thank you, and we'll do this again soon.